If you're thinking of dropping some cash and picking up an accessory or two for your DJI Mini 3 Pro, you might be wondering if the Plus version of the Intelligent Flight Battery, affectionately known in our household as the Chungus, is well worth it. Well, there are some pros and cons to that battery, which I'll cover in this video, and I'll also answer the other question that's on your mind: do you actually need it? So, don't go away. Hey guys, Mike here, and welcome back to the channel. Quick video for you today on the DJI Intelligent Flight Battery Plus for the DJI Mini 3 Pro in particular, but this also relates to the Mini 3 and Mini 4 Pro. The Intelligent Flight Battery Plus is essentially a larger, more powerful battery that was introduced as an option alongside the standard battery when the DJI Mini 3 Pro was released. It offers 3,850 milliamp hours of power versus the standard battery that has 2,590 milliamp hours. Now, according to the specifications, in ideal conditions, it'll provide up to 47 minutes of flight time compared to around 34 minutes for the standard battery. Now, when the Mini 3 Pro was released, you could purchase the standard Fly More combo kit, or you could buy a kit that included the larger Intelligent Flight Battery Plus instead. Yes, it cost more, but the attraction of getting one of the Chungus batteries for me was a little bit hard to resist, so I went for it. You can certainly purchase the battery by itself if you decided against it in the kit and wanted to pick one up afterwards, but they don't come cheap at around $96 versus the standard battery at around $65. Another thing to remember is that they weigh more than the standard battery. The dimensions are the same, but the Chungus battery comes in at around 121 grams versus around 80 grams for the standard battery. Now, the implication of that is that the total weight of the drone, including the battery, pushes you over that magic 249 gram mark, which means you'll have to register your drone with the appropriate authorities in your country and have to follow an extra set of guidelines and rules that you don't have to if your drone is under 250 grams. So just be aware of that. So the questions on your mind before you decide to part with your hard-earned cash are: why would you need one of these batteries, and do you need one? Now, every drone pilot has experienced that dreaded feeling of either looking at the display of your controller and seeing that you only have a short amount of time left on your battery, or even worse, hearing the alarm go off and the controller telling you that your return to home has been activated because your battery has reached a critical level, and you just hope it's still got enough juice to make it back to the home point. So, having a little extra in reserve is a very welcome thing. Therefore, what drone pilot wouldn't want a little bit more in reserve? Now, having a Chungus battery is also super useful if you do client work or filming on someone else's behalf. You may have heard the expression, hurry up and wait, which is particularly the case when you're filming for someone else. There's always lots of time spent waiting for the talent to do that crucial piece of action that you want to capture, and they don't seem to appreciate that drone batteries don't actually last that long. So in theory, having a larger battery giving you a longer flight time is great. I mean, why wouldn't you, right? Notwithstanding the issue about now being overweight, that aside, it's a no-brainer, isn't it? Well, I've got a Chungus battery and I've used it extensively. Well, often. Well, sometimes with my Mini 3 Pro. And it's been good. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with it. I just tend to use it under certain circumstances, for peace of mind more than anything. So I'll cover off the 4 main reasons I tend to use it shortly. So you might be thinking, if you're not too worried about the overweight thing, I mean, it's not like the drone police are going to turn up and demand to weigh your drone, are they? No, they're not. I mean, they're not. What are you not in for? You're a doctor, and you've got weird eyes. I mean, what do you even know about? What does he even know about? No, they're definitely not. Anyway, if you're not too worried about the overweight thing, you'd probably think, why wouldn't you get a couple of these things and then just use them as your regular drone batteries all the time, right? And that would be fair enough. It's a reasonable idea. You know, there's a but coming, right? Yeah, but, and I don't want to be the one to rain on the parade, but I don't know if you've noticed, but the flight time of the standard battery at around 34 minutes is pretty bloody good. Yeah, I know you don't get 34 minutes because you generally don't fly in perfect operating conditions like they do to test the drones and come up with their performance specifications, but in my experience, I've had between 25 and 31 minutes flight time with the standard battery, depending on the conditions, the temperature, whether it's been windy or not, and whether I've been using like a mix of normal mode and sports mode, for example. But I remember when I got the DJI Spark, and the intelligent flight battery for that drone was rated at 16 minutes, which meant you were stoked.
So stoked. Like, I don't even, like, winter's here. You know, this is the first time we've been up. I'm stoked. You stoked?
I'm stoked.
Just
I'm stoked.
so stoked.
Yes, yes.
You were stoked if you got 10 or 12 minutes. So one thing that taught me was to plan my flights and manage the battery a lot more. So when the DJI Mini 2 rocked up with 31 minutes of flight, meh, it was like you could fly, take your time, and like everything was happening in slow motion. Most of us couldn't believe our luck. It felt like you could have your drone up for ages, and actually you can. So having said all that, I do like the extended battery and I do use it. If I'm going out on a big flying session or I'm out for a long time and have already used up my 2 standard batteries, then I definitely use the Chungus. If you wanted to pick one up yourself, I'll put a link in the description below. Now, as I said, I do use mine. However, there are 4 certain circumstances where I would specifically use the larger battery as my first choice. I talked earlier about one of the things the DJI Spark taught me better was to plan my flights, because you've really got a limited battery life. So if you're just going to launch the drone, have a fly around and look for the best angle to photograph or video something, well, you'd be forced to bring the drone in and land again before you knew it, and most likely without a suitable shot. So generally these days, I'll do a bit of research about where I'm filming first. So if it's, say, a landmark or something like that, then I'll have already thought about the angles and the direction I want to film in, so that when I do launch, I have a plan. But there are times when I've just arrived at some new place and I've got limited time and haven't had the chance to do much or any planning about my flight. In that scenario, it's really good to have a bit of extra battery up your sleeve to give you time to scout around, experiment, and get the best shot that you can, without being too stressed about running out of battery. There are times when, even though I've scoped out and planned my flight, the subject that I want to film or take pictures of is quite a distance away, which means I'm likely to burn quite a bit of battery getting to or from my subject. So in that scenario, it's great to have the Chungus. The next time I'd specifically use the Chungus is in windy conditions, and this is for a couple of reasons. The first is that when you're flying to and from your subject, you're likely to be battling wind in at least one of the directions of travel, and that's going to burn extra battery. So again, it's nice to have some in reserve. The second reason is to add a little bit more weight to the drone to help its stability in the wind. Now, it's such a light little thing, and even though it probably punches above its weight when it comes to performance in windy conditions, it is tiny and it's prone to being thrown around a little bit. So the extra weight of the larger battery is probably not going to make a huge difference, but it can't hurt, right? Another reason I'd specifically use the larger battery is if I'm doing a time-lapse or hyperlapse. By their very nature, time-lapses or hyperlapses take longer to film, especially if you're trying to capture the transition from night to day or day to night. You need to plan the timing of your flight, but also the drone needs to be up there long enough to capture enough of the transition, the starting light conditions and the finishing light conditions. Now, even if you aren't filming a transition between day and night, you might be doing a time-lapse of a busy motorway or something like that, you still need the drone up there for a while, and the large battery gives you more of an opportunity to capture what you need, particularly when you also need to get to and from the subject you're filming. Now, when you're out there filming with your DJI Mini 3 Pro, wondering if you could get better results with a camera on the Mini 4 Pro, DJI's latest offering in the Mini series that was released in September 23, then you should probably check out this video before deciding if you need to upgrade to the Mini 4 based on the camera. Thanks guys, I hope you're all doing well. I appreciate your support and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.